Hey folks, welcome to Tim's Offgrid. Today we're going to go through starting up the LT15. Today we're going to go through starting up the LT15. Then we're going to take some of the red oak logs out of the back of the dump trailer. We're going to load the first one on here. We're going to saw it. We're going to be working on sawing boards for the fence here on the property, just like these boards on this fence right here. So we're also going to have to take some measurements and see what those widths are. They look like, I don't know, 2x6 or something, but we'll have to take some measurements. So one of the first things is make sure this whole thing's level. It's on the trailer, so really we got to get the front and back level and then side to side level. So this pavement here is on a slant over to the left. So we had to drive this wheel up onto a block. Actually used the jack to just jack the axle up and put it on the block. Then I lowered each one of these stands, and we are pretty level, looking at the level. So at that point we can unlock the sawmill portion over here. There's a couple pins here in the back. So you just, on this one here, you just pull the clip out. I don't have the chains on right now because I was just moving around the yard. But there's also a chain that came with it to lock it down even further into the chain. The other one's on the side here, and you just pull it, rotate, and it's unlocked. All right, now we need to lift it up because it's all the way lowered. The pins are down. So to lift it up, we'll just move like that. And now you'll see on this other side, we'll clear the pinhole over here that goes in here. So now the whole assembly should be able to go forward. So we can either push it forward, pull it forward, or we can drive it forward. So over here you can grab onto the handle and you can pull it forward, or I can flip it into the on position. I can bring it back Alright, the next few things we want to check, then I'm going to turn this back off so we don't forget. We'll check the oil, and this thing has barely any run hours on it. So obviously you pull it out, you wipe it with a cloth. We'll just use this glove and we'll stick it back in. All right, and make sure that we're in between low and full. With it being with this low of hours, we better be close to full. We want to make sure that we have water. Right now they were using windshield wiper fluid. Later we'll have water that's got pond sol in it. You want to make sure you've got fuel over there, and you can see fuel is visible. The next thing is we want to open up, and because we were using it recently, there is some built up sawdust in here. So again, we've got everything in the off position so nobody can start it while I have my hand in here. So we're just kind of, each time you get ready to use the saw, you want to come in here and you want to make sure the belts are not worn. You got to re-engage the saw blade by pulling that lever up, and then you got to make sure that there's no sawdust in there that'll bind up with the blade. Use transmission fluid to lubricate all these major areas where the saw is going to go up and down the rail. This is important. This is what Wood-Mizer recommends, is using transmission fluid. I just happen to have some from a recent transmission fluid change, and we used all that we could. And next, we're going to go and grab one of these logs out of the trailer. I need to come up with a better mechanism, because right now it's like using brute force to lift them up and out of the trailer and then roll them across the yard. I'm using one of these canned hooks. This isn't really typically what you're going to be doing with it, but normally you're going to be turning it while it's on the sawmill with a can hook, but I'm using it right now just to reposition. Then I'm manually rolling it over there. If I had a couple staves, I could have used a couple staves to roll it, or the end of the can hook. And then from here, I'm just going to rotate it and lift up one end at a time and put it up on the trailer, and then push it over in position. This log had a bow in it also, so trying to get the log in the best position on there before the first cut was important. We did cut a pretty good bit of material out of it while we were positioning it on there. Yeah, kind of like that right there. So right now, because we don't have a square side, we're going to use these on the side to hold the log in place. Bring these guys in. Back them out so you have enough slack to grab in. Be aware, don't grab too high. You'll come through and cut right into either of these. So you got to be super careful on the first pass or so. And especially as you get into later passes, that you don't cut into the wall. That you don't cut into these holders on the sides. Alright, we're getting tight. I'm going to grab a tape measure so that we can measure what we're aiming to make. Yeah, these are 6-inch boards. And they're 1.5 inches or so. Inch and no. Yep, they're like 1 1/8 inch. All right, 1 1/8, about 6 inches. So over here, you can see the log that we're working off is about a 9-inch log, where you're going to find a lot of stuff that's not going to be usable in the very beginning. Obviously, all this bark. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in and see if we can't cut a level spot. So that level spot, to give us a 6-inch board, we got a lot to work on. All right, so I'm going to bring the blade right up to the log, and we're going to make a decision on where our first pass will be. I'm going to go for probably right about in there. Yep. All right. On this engine, you got a manual pull for the choke over here. Manual pull for the choke, and you have an electric start. The gas valve is on top of the tank, and the gas valve is on, and it has an on off right here. So straight up and down is on. And again, we've got it choked, and then we're gonna just use the key switch to start. Over here, this bar adjusts the width of what you're cutting. Alright. We're going to keep it out here, which is pretty come up with a mechanism to capture the sawdust. Number 3, so 3 inches tall. I should be able to cut twice and have 3 boards under this. 4 boards out of that. Now later I'll just clean these ends up. But these should all work fine. As fence boards, I would not normally use red oak on a fence, except it's all going to be mounted vertically. Water's going to run right off of it. We'll stain this wood black or paint it black in time after we put it on the fence. But from that tree that had a bend in it, we did get 4 good boards. Now you can see where these trees are going to bend. You're going to lose material out of these trees. See how much I cut out of the top of it so that we can get going. And then the other waste is in that pile right there. So you're going to have waste. Some of my friends take some of this waste and they do arts and crafts with it. So everything serves a purpose, whether this turns into firewood or somebody does arts and crafts. So hope you enjoyed us walking you through how we use the sawmill, how we set it up, how we make our cuts. Over time we'll get better and better. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate y'all. See ya.